Hey everyone, welcome back. My name's dustinkreis, and today we are going to do a long-awaited game discussion. Long-awaited because it took me... I started this game way back in, I don't know, the spring maybe, and I've just kind of been playing it on and off because it is an extremely long game for what's here. Clocking in just around the 93-hour mark when I finished the game. We're talking about Dragon Quest VII on the PlayStation 1 and also in Japan on the Nintendo 3DS. There's been rumors of a localization of the 3DS version, but until that point in time, this is the only way to play Dragon Quest VII. Of course, this says Dragon Warrior because if you don't know the history, something else over here in the States had the trademark on Dragon Quest. The words Dragon Quest. So NX couldn't use it, so they changed it to Dragon Warrior. I tried to download and make an e-boot for this game to play on my PSP, just so I could play it portable, and it wouldn't work. So, like, even emulating this game is hard. For some reason, it just will not work. I don't know why. So until we get some confirmation of the 3DS version coming over here, this is the only way to play it in English. There is a fan translators out there trying to fan translate the game. You can play the Japanese version on your North American 3DS. There's like a workaround to do it. But yeah, I was playing this and they kind of started the rumor mill of it coming out. I just said, you know what? Who knows if it's actually going to happen, because Dragon Quest has a very spotty history over here in the States, and I just decided to go ahead and finish this. And I'm glad I did. This is the last, aside from 10, which I probably will never get to play. This was the last numbered Dragon Quest game I needed to finish until 11 comes out, of course. And I'm not going to lie to you, this is it's a tough one to get through. There's a lot of things kind of stacked against this game. Its graphics, its pacing, the overly grindiness of it. But if you're like me and you're a huge Dragon Quest fan, there's a lot to like here too. If you feel like your Dragon Quest games are too short, this is the game for you. But we'll talk about the game's length when we get to the gameplay, because the game's length, it does not need to be a 90-hour RPG. If they were to retool the experience and the job grinding, this game could easily be a 40-hour RPG. It really, there is a ton of grinding in this game. That is, be warned. Hopefully, I've not played the 3DS version at any great length, but hopefully they've sort of retooled all the experience levels and things of that nature, because otherwise, yowzas. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it and talk about it. I actually, by the end of it, really liked Dragon Quest VII's story. Dragon Quest has never been really known for great stories. It's sort of a very minimalist story that just kind of keeps you going. But there's enough like history and lore in this game, and enough little interesting little side stories with the NPCs you find, that as a whole it does add up to a quite a nice story. You start off as the son of a fisherman on this lone island, the only island in this vast, vast sea. And you go out exploring with your friend Kiefer and your other friend Maribel. And through some events and shenanigans, you kind of find out that everything in your world is not what it seems. All the other continents of the world have been locked away by the Demon Lord. And because you are the ones who have discovered this nefarious thing happening, it's up to you to save the world. And you travel back in time, you find these ruins, and in these ruins are all these pedestals that lead to other islands. And as you find these shards, you use them on these pedestals and you travel back in time, and basically you solve the area's problems that sort of led to it being split off from the world. And then once you solve those problems, those islands come back into the main world. So I really like that aspect of this game. I love the fact that you are rebuilding the world. Off the top, I'm sure there's other RPGs that have done this. Off the top of my head, I can't think of one. But I like the fact that as you progress in the game, because you're so used to like the world opening up as you progress in the game, because you're able to travel more places, you're able to fight stronger monsters, you get a ship, all that kind of stuff in the normal Dragon Quest games. But this is literally you opening up the rest of the world, and it feels very natural to do this. However, it does lead to some sense of deja vu, because you go back to these islands in the past and you explore them thoroughly to complete the story segment, and then when you come back to the future, you kind of have to explore them again, not so much in detail, but explore them again to find more land shards to travel to other places. So that's where a lot of the length comes in, is the fact that you have to do sort of each area twice in a way, and that can be a little infuriating. But it is cool to see how the kingdoms have progressed since you went back and saved everything. In some ways, they seem to have gotten better. In some ways, they seem to have gotten worse. It's interesting to see how the history gets twisted over the years. And just overall, I found Dragon Quest VII, the world and interacting with the NPCs and all that stuff, to be very enjoyable. Is it for everybody? Hell no. And there's going to be reasons why. Now, when the 3DS version comes out, I mean, just by the little bit I've played it and seen how mind-numbingly gorgeous it looks on the 3DS, that's going to be the version. If it comes out over here in the States, everyone go out and buy Dragon Quest VII, because they're probably going to retool it a little bit. It's going to be a much better game. As for this one, serious Dragon Quest aficionados only, because this is wow. But anyway, yeah, the storyline, it's a Dragon Quest storyline. If you played Dragon Quest before, you know the tropes, you know the NPCs you're going to be finding. There's some moments of real darkness and sadness. There's some moments of attempting to be funny. Sometimes this game kind of falls on its face when it tries to be funny. But still, all in all, in the end, I had a good time with the storyline. It's not going to light anybody's pants on fire, but it'll get you through the game, and at the end, you'll probably be like, oh, that was a good little yarn. Little in parentheses or quotation marks. Gameplay. Man, tried and true Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest is known for keeping with tradition, and this game keeps with tradition to a fault. So much so that it kind of affects everything in a bad way. Old school Dragon Quest games on the NES were very, very grindy. And this one is no slouch in that department as well, because not only do you have to grind for experience levels and gold, which you don't get very much for each battle. Like, I always like in other RPGs, when you beat a boss, you get like this massive amount of EXP, which you should for beating a boss. And then you beat a boss in this, and it's like a few thousand. And you get to a point where it's like you need like hundreds of thousands of EXP points to like gain a level. It gets kind of ridiculous how slowly eventually you'll start gaining levels. I ended the game, my main character was at level 39. So you think about all these other RPGs where you could be like in level 79 and things like that. Dragon Quest is very slow on its leveling up. But not only do you have to level up experience and gold, not level up but collect gold, this is one of those games that have a job system. And they do their job system in an interesting way. It's not based on like points you get at the end of the battle. It's not based on experience points. It's based on how many battles you fight Okay? So, each job, of which there are many, not even including the monster hearts you can find to gain monster abilities, which I didn't even touch. Each job has maybe like eight levels to master it. Okay? Each level can take anywhere from, like with early jobs, like 10 battles, to advanced jobs. Like there's one where it's like 60 battles just to get like one spell. So think about that, especially when you get to the advanced jobs. Okay, there's 8 levels, and I swear to you, one of the jobs, I think it was Summoner, the number of battles didn't drop below 30. And the last 2 were both 50. So it was like 30, 30, 30, 30, 40, 40, you get what I'm saying. You have to fight a lot of battles in order to do that. To level up these jobs to a sufficient level to get all the skills. That's fine, you say. I'll just go fight a bunch of slimes and level them up. The game will not let you do that. You have to fight relatively level appropriate monsters. So, I mean, for a long time, you'll be able to hang out around Dharma Temple and just grind up jobs. But eventually, they'll stop counting. And you'll have to go somewhere where the enemies are actually right around your level in order to, build up these job levels. Which works in tandem because since EXP and gold are so scarce, you kind of see how the grinding kind of helps to build up these jobs. You fight a lot of monsters, which you get a lot of gold and you get a lot of experience points. So it all kind of goes hand in hand. That's great. The main slowing point of this game, and I would say a good 20 hours of this game was spent grinding. Spent grinding. Because I know, like, this last week, I have been grinding like mad in this game, grinding up job levels. And it would be so much better if the restrictions on the job levels were lower. You'd have to fight as in many battles, and the EXP and the gold you're able to accumulate quicker. Doesn't make the game easier. It just makes the game go quicker. And honestly, after playing this game and seeing everything that there is to see in here, there's no reason that this should be a 100-hour plus RPG. No reason. 50 hours tops, but there is a lot to do in this. I have to give it that. If you want to grind out jobs and monster levels, that's fine. There's always the casino you can go and fuck around in. There's a city that you get to build in this by collecting NPCs from the different towns and sending them there, and you can make several different kinds of town. There's a monster park that you can collect monsters for. This game is jam-packed with stuff. The problem is a lot of that stuff is there's no reward for doing it. You just get to do it, Hopefully in the 3DS version, these parts are either removed or there's actually a reason for doing it. But not in this one. So, yeah, you get the tried and true Dragon Quest battles with extremely heavy grinding. The good thing is, once you level these jobs up sufficiently and you get these skills, you feel insanely powerful. The final boss did give me a little bit of challenge, but for the most part, I just steamrolled right over him because I put the effort in to, get these really powerful skills. I had most of my people learn the final tier of jobs, and that took a while. That took a really long time. But I'm glad I did it because it made me feel really good when I beat the game. So if you've played a Dragon Quest before, if you've played one Dragon Quest, you can pick up any Dragon Quest and play it. That's the way the series is, and that's what I kind of love about it, is that you don't have to waste a bunch of time wrapping your head around this new battle system like you do with every Final Fantasy. You have to sit there for like a half hour, 45 minutes just figuring out how you're supposed to fight in the game. Dragon Quest, you just pick it up and you're off on your adventure. And I really liked sort of the innocence of Dragon Quest. It reminds me of being a kid going outside with I had a wooden sword and a wooden shield that we made out of like, the sword was made out of a 2x4 and the shield was like plywood. And I would go out and I lived on a 60-acre farm, and I would go out and I'd play Dragon Quest outside for hours. And then I'd come in and play Dragon Quest on my, my Nintendo. But it reminds me of those days of going out into the woods and pretending I was fighting slimes and Drakes and, things like that. So I love the innocence of Dragon Quest, and I hope it never loses it. But yeah, from the gameplay standpoint, the gameplay is what really makes this game lengthy when it really doesn't have to be. But at the same time, I love Dragon Quest, so I didn't really mind until about the 70-hour mark, when it was 77 hours and I was still on disc 1. Like, the majority of the game is on disc 1, and then there's like barely anything on disc 2. Like the last like 15ish hours were on disc 2, and a good portion of that was spent grinding. There are a couple bonus dungeons in this game that I did not do because the game was long enough as it was. But there's even more stuff. If you haven't had your fill with this game by then, there's even more stuff to do in this game. Like, this is it's just massive. Like, the only thing I could think of is like, this is like the Skyrim of its day. There's just so much to fucking do. And you could spend so many hours doing it. Like, I had a majority of the jobs for the hero character learned, but I had none of the monster jobs. So there's even more stuff. It's mind-boggling how big this game is. It's intimidating, because I know there's a lot of times where I thought about throwing this in, and I was like, I just don't want to sit with this for 100 hours. And that's why it took me... I bought this when it came out in 2001 or 2002. I can't remember when it came out over here. 2001. And I've just now beat it. That's 14 years ago. I've had this for 14 years without beating it, because it is such an intimidating game with that just the length. So, yeah. Graphics. Here we go. This game is beat with the ugly stick, and it's not even a case of it just being an old game. When this game was released, people complained about its graphics. Dragon Quest was never known for its graphics. Look at the NES ones. As Final Fantasy got more intricate, Dragon Quest kind of stayed the same. Look at Final Fantasy IV compared to Dragon Quest V. Dragon Quest VI looks amazing. I love the look of the Super Famicom Dragon Quest VI. But Dragon Quest V looks like almost like a Nintendo game with brighter colors, So very traditional. The problem with this game is it looks worse than Dragon Quest VI. And I'm not just talking about the 3D modeling. I'm just talking about the sprite characters in this game. When you have a system as powerful as the PS1, those sprites have no excuse for looking the way they do. Especially when you look at Dragon Quest VI on the Super Famicom, and you look at those sprites and you're like, what the fuck happened? I understand they were trying something new with the 3D worlds, but man, just imagine what this would have looked like if it was a full, like, sprite-based game. If they didn't fuck around with the 3D modeling, because I'm not a big fan of PlayStation 1 era, like Sega Saturn era 3D modeling. Sometimes I enjoy it, but other times I think it just looks disgusting. And that's the unfortunate thing about this game. Like, the 3D modeling even for the day it came out, it looked bad. However, that being said, it's Dragon Quest, and I can go back and play the NES Dragon Quests and have a really great time with them. So graphics are not that big of a deal. However, one second, dead air. When this thing comes out, this thing looks gorgeous, okay? So just because this looks bad, when this comes out, don't skip over this, okay? Because I really feel like they solved a lot of the problems with this one. And if anyone out there has played this to great length, because I just did sort of the introductory part, and I was just, I'm gonna put this down until you know, the real one comes out. But the real one, the English one comes out. But don't, when Dragon Quest VII, if it comes out on the 3DS, don't skip over it because you heard me say that this game is ugly. This is a PlayStation 1 game, okay? I really want Dragon Quest to succeed in the West. So, 3DS. But anyway, yeah, they tried this weird thing where the world is in 3D and then the characters are still sprites. And, I mean, it works and it's fine. It's just not going to, it's not going to excite you. And even the sprite work, like with the monsters in the battles, sometimes there's some impressive like animation, but for the most part, they just kind of look blurry. And I don't understand why that would be, because you play like the Super Famicom version, and I mean, Dragon Quest VI looks beautiful on the Super Famicom. It's one of the most beautiful games on there. But yeah, graphically, 7 takes a step back, even behind the Super Famicom games, which is weird, because it's a weird combination of 3D and sprite work, and then the sprite work is just not as good as what was there before. And I think, if I remember correctly, this game took a long time to develop. Like, it was in development hell for a long time, so who knows, maybe they just got it done and said, alright, send it out, and then, like, the Japanese people just, you know, ate it all up, because it's the best-selling Japanese PlayStation game. The best-selling Japanese PlayStation game console title of all time. It says it right there. And I do remember like hearing about like the insane amount that this did sell over there, because Dragon Quest used to be Legion. I think it still kind of is over there, much more than Final Fantasy. So yeah, the graphics, but it's Dragon Quest. Finally, the music. The tracks that are here. It feels like it has a very small soundtrack, and they reuse a lot of tracks over and over and over and over and over again. So get used to hearing the music that you hear, because you'll be hearing a lot of it over and over and over again. Yeah, man, I'm making it sound like I really didn't like this game, and the thing of it is I did, because I am such a Dragon Quest idiot. I had a great time with this. It really, like, the 90 hours, I know I kind of complained about it, because I complained about it because it doesn't really have to be 90 hours. But there were times where I kind of got sick of the grinding, so I just put it up for a little bit and then come back to it, which is really easy to do with this game. So, where do I stand on this? I think you already know. I had a ball with this. I loved Dragon Quest VII. Is it my favorite Dragon Quest? Definitely not. It's probably my second least favorite. Is that how I should say it? My least favorite is Dragon Quest II, and I'd say this one is probably right above it, because I don't know, like 1, 3, and 4 are amazing, 5 and 6 are amazing, and 8's amazing, 9's amazing. So, I mean, 2 and 7 are kind of the weak links. That being said, I am talking about this game. I am not talking about this game. So when this game comes out, give it a fair shot. So yeah, I mean, I really had a good time with Dragon Quest VII. I don't recommend the PS1 version to newcomers. If you want to see what Dragon Quest is all about, the best one to play, I've already given it away by reaching behind me. The best one to play is right here. This one is, this is gorgeous. And Dragon Quest XI looks a lot like this game. So, good job, Square Enix. Good job. It's what Dragon Quest IX should have been. Which I love Dragon Quest IX too, but you know, on the 3DS with the chibi art style, it fits. I mean, it fits. Or did I say 3DS? I meant the DS, but it fits. But at the same time, like, whew, that would have been great on the PS3 or something like that. I don't know. So anyway, Dragon Quest VII. I am super stoked that I finally beat this game. I'll be super stoked when/if this comes out so I can beat it again. And yeah, this is not going to make my game of the year. Okay, let's just put that out there right now. This is not going to make game of the year. It'll be somewhere in the list, probably towards the middle. But this series is what got me into RPGs. So even a quote-unquote bad one is still good in my opinion. However, so I don't know. If you want an old school experience and you don't care about graphics, give this one a shot. If you're a Dragon Quest fanboy like me, you've either given this a shot or you're planning to. And if you like Dragon Quest, you'll be fine with this. It's one of those RPGs that people have a hard time with, and I understand why people have a hard time with it. I had a great time with it, and I'm glad. Oh, this is funny. This is funny. Coming 2002, Dragon Quest IV on the PlayStation. It never came over here. I had the Japanese version up there, but that's funny. I think that might have been because Square and Enix, that might have been when Square and Enix went in together, and then I think like the combined company just decided to scrap it for the Western release. But anyway, that just kind of shows you the weird lifespan of Dragon Quest, because it's like Nintendo, it was like the premier RPG. Super Nintendo, gone. You know, the PlayStation era, we got this. And then the DS era, there's a ton of Dragon Quest on the DS. And then it dried up again. And now maybe we're going to get another big surge with Dragon Quest XI and hopefully the 3DS titles that everyone has been clamoring for on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. So anyway, Dragon Quest VII, thumbs up from me, but keep in mind I am a Dragon Quest fanboy, and do your research, because it is an expensive game now. I'm surprised. I was really surprised at how high the price has risen. But it's one of those games, again, like Panzer Dragoon Saga, that it's almost impossible to emulate. Has some kind of DRM on it. I don't know. Hopefully the 3DS version comes out and everyone gets to give this game a fair shake, because there is a really awesome RPG there. The job system is awesome in this game. I actually really do love it. I think it's a little too grindy, but I do love it. So if they refine it with the 3DS version and slap a new coat of paint on it, the 3DS version is going to be amazing. So keep that in mind. It's just, I don't know, for some reason Enix just couldn't do this one right. But see, I keep don't worry about, keep hoping for. And then if you really want to play it, go and play it. Dragon Quest VII, what can you say? Super long. Super long. Anyway, that is it for this video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time.